react. You whispering my name, thinking I won't be the same. Turn fiction into fact. See what you didn't know, bruises that I'll never show, slipping on your every jab. So tighten up your fist, step into the ring with this. I hope your mama's got your back. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, holding the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. Just 'cause I took a break, you're making a huge mistake, thinking you can take the throne. Look at you trembling, step into the lion's den. Bet you wish you stayed at home. Begging for mercy underneath your breath when I ain't even sweating yet. My legend's written in the stone, yeah. You're crying danger in defeat is now your only friend. Even your mama's gotta know. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, holding the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 First round, fifth round, final round. Oh, 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 yeah. First round, fifth round, final round. No, 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 no. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, holding the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, oh,
The global economy is fundamentally different today than it was yesterday. The system of global trade anchored on the United States that Canada has relied on since the end of the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped to deliver prosperity for our country for decades, is over. Our old relationship of steadily deepening integration with the United States is over. The 80-year period when the United States embraced the mantle of global economic leadership, when it forged alliances rooted in trust and mutual respect, and championed the free and open exchange of goods and services, is over. Well, this is a tragedy. It is also the new reality. We must respond with both purpose and force. We are a free, sovereign, and ambitious country. We are masters in our own home.
Hello, hello, time travelers. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this is In Time. As the protests expand to 6 cities where we have identified protesters, and we're going to show you some footage and discuss some of them in a minute. Trump has taken to the aptly named Fort Bragg to talk about how great a president he is, his awesomeness, and what he's going to do to totally awesomify? Is awesomify a word? I don't know. The country. We're going to start with another story that is extraordinarily important, actually, and is one that we've been covering for quite some time here, and that is the coalition of Benjamin Netanyahu, which is barely holding together. For those of you who do not remember, Benjamin Netanyahu, his party is kind of a centrist party. It leans to the right, but it's not a hard right party. But he was not able to become prime minister, and his party did not have enough votes to make him prime minister without help from other parties. And the straw that broke the camel's back was the hardest right party there was, and it's a very small party, but it has been threatening to pull support from him constantly, and so he is required to do basically whatever they say. Honestly, it's very similar to the Tea Party and how it started to take control. It's a very small party of what most people, even on the right, consider to be, right-wing nut jobs, and they sort of morphed into MAGA, and, by the time serious conservatives like John McCain and Mitt Romney really sort of realized just how serious the danger was, it was too late. The Republican Party had changed, and they were in control. And something rather similar has been happening in Israel. They have set the agenda. The reason for this is because Benjamin Netanyahu has been an extraordinarily bad boy. He is essentially under indictment for money laundering, for extortion, a few other crimes. I don't remember if he had any state crimes like I know bribery, accepting bribes. A lot of stuff. He's going to jail for the rest of his life, but they cannot actually begin a trial against him so long as he's prime minister. So if he stays prime minister, he stays out of jail. If he loses the prime ministership, straight to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. The consensus is that, and my understanding is, he's actually already been all but indicted. They just can't complete the process until he's out of but literally day one out of being prime minister, the indictments are complete and he's indicted, and either he goes to I don't know the process. I don't know the Israeli legal system. So that's it. So they have made the eradication of all Palestinians their goal. So when we see these protests of millions of people in Israel, they're not protesting Netanyahu. They don't even necessarily disagree with the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, although many do. But what they want is the hostages back. And they're like, negotiate, do what you got to do, get the hostages back. And the far-right coalition says, no, you're going to keep fighting. So he keeps fighting. He is their lapdog, or again, jail. The military has a problem. They are running out of soldiers, so they have increased the draft to include a prestigious school that is where 80 to 90% of this party sends their children. This party, I apologize, I've gone over. It's an ultra-Orthodox, well, there's a coalition, there's several parties, 2 of them that he needs. Both have had all of their children exempt from the draft. As of last week, they issued an the defense minister said that he would need to include them in the draft. They needed to include everybody. Obviously, exempting them as ultra-Orthodox, they're too religious to fight, has been controversial anyway. The people of Israel have wanted this for quite some time. Most of the coalition has wanted this for quite some time. The only ones who don't want it are the two far-right parties, which have children in that school and who are immune so far to being drafted into this war, but they're also the ones causing it. Wow. So, given that the defense secretary has said he's going to expand the draft to include everybody and there will be no exclusion, it will be solely by age, the two parties both went to him and said, if you allow this to happen or do not stop it, we will withdraw our support. The government would immediately fail. This is in the parliamentary sense. It would dissolve and they would hold elections for a new prime minister. This puts Netanyahu in a very tricky position. He's been in this position before and he's gotten them to be okay with, he's found a way to negotiate this. It looks as if he's not going to be able to this time. We don't know for certain. Mike Huckabee, U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, dear Lord, I can't believe I had to say that, has been speaking with his counterpart. He's been speaking much more often than they normally speak. The Times of Israel has reported that the reason for this is because the government is in fact about to collapse and Mike Huckabee is trying to keep it together. The head of the opposition party has come out and said that he thinks that this would be very unfortunate if true, reminding the United States that it is none of the United States' affair who wins and who loses, and that they have no business meddling in internal politics. Meanwhile, the Times of Israel and Israel's Channel 6 is reporting that Mike Huckabee has been trying to negotiate with the two parties to get them to agree to not break up yet, saying that would be terrible for the war, it would be terrible for the U.S. plans in Iran, and that we could offer them something if they would back Netanyahu and keep the government together. So far, they appear to refuse. Tomorrow, the leader of one of these parties will be reading into the record a formal disillusionment of their equivalent of parliament. It is, let me see, I've forgotten what it's called. At any rate, she will be reading it into the record, and the vote will be held, I believe, on Monday. Let me, now I've lost, let's see, the reading of the bill to dissolve the Knesset is set for Wednesday, so she's gonna read it tomorrow, and she said that her intention is to vote in favor. So at this point, it looks like he has actually lost both of those parties. If he has, it looks like he will be unable to stay in power, and that will be the end of the Netanyahu government, and a new one will step in. We don't know whether it'll be moderate, left, we have no idea, but ostensibly it won't be him. He will probably run again, and he'll try to reform a government, but there you go. So, Isandring, I don't know how much of this that you had heard up on, but I know that you've been with us as we've covered so much of these protests, and as we've spoken with Commander on the catastrophic damage done to Israel, done to the reputation of the United States for our support while they're committing genocide, and all of this really in the name of a man who strikes me very similar to Putin or Trump, and is in office for one reason and one reason only: to stay out of jail. Any thoughts?
I think it's probably a good idea for them to dissolve the government, hold elections, and put new leadership in place, especially after this long of not resolving any of their issues.
According to the Times of Israel, they've been at war now for 614 days, which for the U.S. is nothing. But for a war that really doesn't seem necessary, it was a retaliation for an admittedly extraordinarily brutal attack in Israel. But I mean, the Palestinians have suffered now more than 10 to 1. Do you think the Trump administration is meddling with the government and trying to keep Netanyahu in power? And how do you think the Trump administration would play the dissolving of the government?
I think that they probably are trying to do everything that they can to keep the current government together, since Netanyahu seems to be particularly amenable to U.S. requests. So yeah, probably. And then, of course, just anytime you have a change in government, it's almost like the devil you know versus the devil you don't. So I would imagine that, the U.S. would be interested in maintaining the same government in Israel. And I'm not sure how Trump would play it. I think, well, if he was smart, he would stay out of it and just say it's up to the Israeli people to figure out how, where they want their nation to go and what kinds of things they want to do. But of course, Trump can't keep his mouth shut about anything. So who knows what the hell he's going to say? I mean, I can't even. I mean, he said several occasions that he, great guy, BB, good friends, great ally, all this flowery words, but I'm not entirely sure that, he even likes the guy or even really knows anything at all about what's going on in Israel. I get the feeling that he just doesn't really care, because a lot of his offhanded, not well thought out comments about the issue, I don't think he really knows what's going on over there. That
would certainly track with the rest of what I know of Donald J. Trump. So at any rate, I'm aware that to most Americans, this is probably not the biggest news that we're thinking about today. But in terms of global suffering, 2.1 million people starving because of policies that have been really dictated to a prime minister, a wannabe dictator himself, who is the puppet of two parties who at this point are introducing measures to oust him, is really extraordinarily important. And we wanted to make sure that you were informed on that, especially since we've been covering Israel when we're not covering the U.S. or Ukraine. So getting to the U.S., there's been a lot going on, and so we're going to try to break it down into digestible chunks. And the first one's going to start with one that, in my view, is not necessarily even the most important or biggest one. You may or may not have heard it, but I think it absolutely has to be talked about. So we will play that. This is from ABC Channel 7 in Los Angeles. Oh, and let's do this. I want to make sure that Isandring can hear it. So let's do that. And
after an unusual and disturbing visit, several federal agents from the Department of Homeland Security showed up at 2 elementary schools this week demanding to talk to students. What happened next has Superintendent Alberto Carvalho praising school workers and demanding answers. Eyewitness News reporter Sophie Flay explains.
What interest should a Homeland Security agent have in a first grader?
On Monday, multiple Homeland Security agents showed up at 2 elementary schools in Los Angeles, according to LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. These agents were stopped, questioned, and turned away by principals at Lillian Elementary and Russell Elementary Schools, both in the Florence Graham neighborhood.
They wanted access to the students to determine their well-being. based on, according to the agents, the fact that when they entered this country, they entered as unaccompanied minors. It is well known that these students are under the care of relatives.
According to Carvalho, the agents claimed they were not part of immigration and customs enforcement.
They conveyed to both principals that the parents or the legal guardians in charge of these children had provided them authorization for access to these kids in school. That is absolutely, blatantly untrue.
These agents asked specific questions about students ranging from 1st to 6th grade. The superintendent says they arrived in unmarked vehicles and wore casual clothing.
When the principals attempted to write down details about their IDs, they quickly hid their IDs.
All parents from these schools were notified about these incidents. Ahead of the November election, LAUSD staff were trained in protocols to protect students from federal agents showing up at schools.
We wonder if this may happen at more schools, if they simply will ram through. So we are having to really lean on the principals, the workers, the teachers, the clerical workers.
After
All right, so that is ABC Channel 7 reporting on an incident that happened yesterday where that we know of 2 elementary schools, grades 1 through 6, ICE agents came and attempted to, it looks like, detain children of undocumented immigrants, and that's that's mind-blowing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Isandring say his thoughts on it while I collect mine. If he's got any thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, it's a bit chilling. You know, right there in the report, it was reported they were looking to talk to children who were unaccompanied minors that went across the border. You know, so they're technically here illegally, but they were minors when they crossed with no apparent adults. They were supposed to be looking for relatives to turn the children over to, and it's from the news reports that have been put out that they actually did find relatives to send the children to. You know, but to have, you know, federal agents show up and take elementary aged children because they showed up at the border as an unaccompanied minor, was let in, which would be the, you know, the humane thing to do, to care for them. And now they want to go find them, I would imagine, so that they could simply deport them.
Yes.
Or they're going to try and use them to gain access to any relatives, friends, etc., that may be caring for them. And I have a feeling that was probably their main target. But it would not surprise me if Trump said, "Oh, that's it, get them out," and decided to, you know, send a bunch of elementary age students to El Salvador. That wouldn't surprise me anymore. I mean, I think I'm done with the shock of surprises that are happening, and I have now the worst of expectations for everything that comes out. Yeah, I am happy that the schools stopped them, especially considering they did not show up in any kind of official uniform. They claimed to show ID, but when they wanted to get like evidence of that ID, they quickly hid it. For all you know, these are international child sex traffickers that are cruising under the auspice of ICE to try and pick up children to traffic. Yep. So good on the school district for, you know, not turning anybody over and turning them away. It's like, I don't think you'd have to show up with official law enforcement with court order in order to remove children from school without parental consent. So I think the school district did this, and if this indeed was ICE trying to do this, yeah, that's pretty chilling. Again, another example of governmental overreach that should be loudly refuted and complained about.
I hesitate because I wonder, you know, ICE said that they had been unaccompanied minors. One of the principals, the one talking, said parents and or custodian. So the way he said it suggested to me one of the children may have been with their parents. So if the parents were undocumented, then all you got to do is snag the kid and be like, okay, you want to come pick up your kid? And I mean, think about that. That's the U.S. government holding a child. I mean, this is what this this is what stuff that happened in the book Man in the High Tower, which was the Philip K. Dick science fiction story about what happened if Hitler won and the U.S. was split by Japan and Germany, and this would be the fascist government, and they're rounding up anybody with Japanese heritage, because the Chinese are upset with them for that, and they kidnap the children and say, "Oh, your child's been injured. Why don't you come to the hospital?" Huh? And it's
it was a show on Netflix, so it would not surprise me. Well, I actually believe that the most likely reason that they were going after the children is exactly that, to hold them as hostage, to get guardians, parents, etc., to come down and try and get the children and then arrest them there.
Yep. Yeah, it's now the other thing is, I actually don't think this Trump was behind this. And the reason is, if he was behind it, it would have happened everywhere. This was a test balloon. Somebody at ICE said, let's try this. Now, if that guy had gone to Trump, Trump would have said, that's a great idea. I've never heard such a good idea. Let's do it. And then he'd expect everyone to start doing it simultaneously in every district, everywhere across the whole country. So the fact that it was what appears to just be a test balloon, they tried two different apparently teams tried to do this. Neither was successful. So now they try to push harder next time, or they just give up and say, okay, we're not gonna go this route. We'll do something else. I'm a little concerned to try to figure out what that something else is, but the fact that it was
what
just
concerns
two,
me too, is if you're right, the emboldening of lower ranks of ICE to try, shall we say, unconventional means of trying to get a hold of people. I mean, maybe they're just spitballing, saying, hey, this massive raids on things are not working out well. It's, polling poorly with the American people. Quick spitball some more ideas. How else can we do this that's kind of more quiet, more subtle? Let's get them to come to us willingly, and go. And somebody just pops up and says, the children. We must get the children. And I mean that in the creepiest way possible. And apparently, the Sinister Porpoise for $2. Thank you for the super chat. I stand corrected. It was not on Netflix, even though I meant Netflix in a broad, generic streaming service sort of way. It is apparently, in fact, on Amazon Prime, which I should know because that's one of the few streaming services I actually have. Which is probably why I know that it's a series on a streaming service somewhere out there in the internet. I know that it got canceled, much to the chagrin of many people, much to the joy of others.
Yes, I know very little about it. The only reason I know about it, really, I know about it for two reasons. One I'm not going to get into. The other one is that it is based on the idea that 𝐒𝐈𝐿 actually struck his intended target. He was an assassin. People know I have a fascination with this guy anyway, because it's about causality, the butterfly effect.
I would dare say you have an obsession with this guy. I think it's the name. Who doesn't like a Giuseppe?
That's true. I think you're right. Well, in part it's the name. In part it's if you think about how things would be different if the man who had fired upon Trump and clipped his ear had hit his intended target. 𝐒𝐈𝐿 assassinated the mayor of Chicago, but that was not his intent. His intent was to assassinate President-elect Roosevelt. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt had this New Deal that was going to break us from the recession and depression, which lasted, I want to say 20 or 30 years. I mean, it's not like previous recessions that we've talked about. It was this big, huge, long thing, and he got us out of it. And what Philip K. Dick says is, instead of missing and killing the mayor of Chicago, he hits his target, which is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. His VP comes in and takes over, and his VP does what he always said he would do, which is veto anything having to do with the New Deal. The vice president did not approve of the New Deal and did not want to have anything to do with it. But he didn't have a say in the matter. He would, had Giuseppe Zengaia hit the man he intended to. So this assumes that he did. We stayed in the Great Depression for a lot longer, and when the Japanese attack us at Pearl Harbor, it takes us more than twice as long to recover. We're unable to assist Europe in any meaningful sense. D-Day fails. There's a catastrophic failure without the U.S. entering the war, and eventually the Germans develop the bomb, and that's it. It's over. We've lost. All because of one assassin who missed because his chair was set up improperly. At any rate, yeah, so that's Man in the High Castle, future of the United States, as far as I can tell. Tune
in next week for Nick's Corner on both literary curiosities that were turned into Amazon Prime shows.
Oh, yeah, we should, yeah, that would be. Do not tempt me.
I thought this was planned. I thought you had that all set up so that you could kind of dive off into the Dick novel and, you know, explain kind of some speculative fiction. And I thought you meant to do that. I'm sorry.
No,
I shouldn't have given you the idea.
Yeah, that was unwise. Yeah, well, the dystopic. I'm not going to read dystopic fiction for a while. We're living it.
Well,
so, yeah.
There's an argument to be made that you should be reading more dystopian fiction so that you can learn what you need to do, how you're going to survive it, as kind of an instruction manual, a preparation manual to kind of get you in that mindset of how am I going to survive this when it all goes sideways.
That is, and we actually did have, we had a thumbnail I think for Trump's first day in office. The thumbnail for that one was from Man in the High Castle, and it was the guy looking out from like a 40-story window, and he's looking at the Statue of Liberty, which is giving the Nazi salute, and all these Nazi flags draped over, I think it's the Twin Towers, and it was redone with Trump as the guy who's doing this. Like, this seems appropriate to me.
It really bugged you that nobody picked up on that, doesn't it?
Yeah, sometimes, you put a lot of effort into a thumbnail, and people just, it's okay.
We're not as cultured as you. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm a dirty, rotten libertarian who isn't well-read and doesn't know all of the classics, although I don't believe that Dick is a classic. However, it is an interesting speculative fiction book, which I have, in fact, listened to. So take that.
All right.
I have not watched the show, though, so I did not catch the reference either, but you never let me live it down.
No, sir.
Did. I'm sorry.
Now
that we've firmly walked out into left field.
Yes. Let's see if we can bring this one back in.
This is a very chilling thing, and I mean, how much more evidence do we need to pile on top of? Either there isn't any particular firm command and control of the agencies of the U.S. government, and they're kind of running freehand with just get it done. I don't care what it takes. And so, yeah, that's very frightening. And you can't entirely dismiss some of the more sinister possibilities. So yeah, I think that this should be blasted out all over the place. Say, hey, especially to the school districts, saying, don't allow this. Parents should be aware that this has been attempted, so that they can make sure that their school boards understand that they won't stand for their children being picked up by federal agents without their prior approval. Yeah, it's like so many other things in the past. It's like we need to stand up and with a firm voice say no. Let our no be no. Do not allow this to happen.
Well, and that's why I wanted to do it before we get into what everyone else wants to hear, which is what's going on with the protests. It was, I want to say it was only 2 schools, but I mean, that was just it's absolutely insane. And I mean, it's the U.S. government, one way or another. It's the U.S. government trying to snag at least 2 children out of school because of immigration status. Oh, dear Lord. So today, Trump was at Fort Bragg celebrating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. He said a number of things that were mildly concerning. The first was that he's going to criminalize flag burning. It's only mildly concerning because he's been talking about that. People have been talking about that for a while. And frankly, if they do, well, I've got a significant problem with that. That's really reasonably low on my list of problems right now. He has also, let me see, that actually wasn't, he claimed that he believes somebody is financing the protesters. He said a number of things, but what I actually want to do is get to something that was said. He is restoring all Confederate military base names and Confederate names on, anything military related, statues, yada, yada, yada. Robert, let's see, sites that will have their name restored would be including Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rutger, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee. Meanwhile, I really want to try to... There we go. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, another thing I can't believe I'm this has to be a nightmare, has said that he would like to, quote, restore the warrior ethos that has been lost in past administrations. Quote, we are getting back to basics, standards, accountability, readiness training, war fighting, lethality. We are not a college or university. We are interested. We are not interested in your woke garbage, your political correctness. We're war fighters who close with and destroy the enemy on behalf of our nation. This was his warm-up for Trump to take the stage. But one of the other things that he had said that concerned me, and I'm trying to find the exact quote here. I do apologize for taking the time. Yes, he said that the U.S. is, quote, entering another phase in how the National Guard is used and deployed in the future. To quote the news article here, the Pentagon chief has indicated that Trump's National Guard deployment in California may be part of a larger policy shift. Quote, I think we're entering another phase, especially under President Trump with his focus on the homeland, Hegseth said, where the National Guard and Reserve becomes a critical component of how we secure that homeland. The National Guard are typically part-time forces answering both to state governor and the U.S. president. In recent history, National Guard troops have exclusively been deployed with the consent of the governor. Prior to this California deployment, the last time a president activated the National Guard without consent of a governor was in 1965. Thoughts? You would know more about this than I would. So,
well, I mean, the problem, like with Pete Hegseth, like I don't have any problems with what he initially said there. Because that's true. Those are the kinds of people that won World War II and World War I. So I don't have necessarily much of a problem with what he said. Of course, the devil of the detail is how is that implemented? Because that is what's going to matter. You can say something that's nice and glowy and sounds good and proper and correct for a military force, and then you can screw it all to hell in its implementation and say, but this is what I told you I was going to do. Yeah, that's not what the rest of us thought you meant. Or some of us maybe were concerned you meant it that way and tried to stop you from implementing it that way. So I care about how he implements it, what it means to him, and how he's going to do this. As far as trying to say moving into a new age where the National Guard is going to be the protection of the homeland. Well, I mean, that already kind of was. That was kind of the point of the National Guard to begin with. And I'm not entirely liking the idea of me, of course, being a limited power government. I don't like the idea of him just pulling on random things and making stretches to federalize National Guard forces, which I think are rightly under the authority of states, to distance the power of those organizations and have them consolidated under the U.S. president. So I'm not a fan of that, and I think that should be shot down and stand up and say, no, we have very stringent rules in place for when the president can federalize the National Guard and use them. And in my opinion, they should probably be stricter, not loosened up. So yeah, that's a little worrisome, because it seems like he's grasping for forces that he can legitimately try and use it within the states to do what he wants to do, without regard to what the governors or the states themselves want. Again, this is a very blatant federal power grab, stripping the states of more of their own power, taking away control of the National Guard and federalizing them essentially to just have a larger military that he can then use, or at least it's been normalized that the National Guard is deployed during times of emergencies. So you can just say, oh, well, we have an emergency here, we're going to deploy the National Guard, but they're under my orders, not the governor. They answer to me, and they're going to do what I tell them to do. I think that's a problem.
As we know, 2,000 National Guard were deployed and 700 Marines. The National Guard got there first and have a bit of a problem, which is that they're basically there to guard the federal buildings. There's only 2 federal buildings, and so it turns out you can guard 2 federal buildings with only about 300 guardsmen. So only 300 of the first 2,000 guardsmen were actually deployed and told to go do something. The rest have been standing around waiting. They've had nothing to do. Now, this also causes problems, because suddenly dropping 2,000 people in the middle of Los Angeles overnight, immigrants you could call them, I guess, suddenly dropping them into, that was really bad, I can't even believe I went for that one, dropping 2,000 National Guardsmen into the heart of LA taxes the facilities. There's no spare bathrooms for an extra 2,000 people, there's no spare food, and there's no place for them to stay. We discussed this in regards to the Third Amendment last night, but what I'd like to show you is the images. This is from last night. What appears to be, it's definitely one of the federal buildings, I don't know where, but they're just sleeping on the floors. There is no other accommodations for them. This is the 2,000 that, actually this is the 1,700, since the other 300 were out. At least 300 are kept rotating, I suppose, but the rest of them have absolutely nothing to do. This is another image of them. It's probably my favorite here. Let's see. I want to see if I can actually get that up so that you can see it just a little bit easier, and it's just one long row of men. This is based on the original deployment of 2,000 before the 700 Marines have showed up and before the other 2,000 have shown up. So they are doubling the number of Marines. They already tapped out on the number, doubling the number of National Guard. They tapped out on the ones they could use at 300, and they're going up to 4,000. So I don't know what's going on, or if anyone in the administration knows what's going on, but it appears as if there's far more there than anyone can actually use. I've heard it said that they can sleep anywhere. I guess that.
I was just about to say that looks like Sunday morning. Any given Sunday morning. I mean, sometimes Saturday morning, but generally they still have shit to do Saturday that they want to do. But Sunday, yeah, that looks like any given Sunday.
Oh, dear Lord. So, the protests have, we've got this video here, and there's lots of delightful screaming with it. You're welcome for that.
Speaking of protests.
Yes.
Oh, the protest in the background.
Yeah.
You know, as the protests, everybody started screaming, and it's like, yeah, speaking of protests.
Yeah, I didn't mean, I'd like to keep the audio down on this one. So, let me, what this is going to show, so what we have currently, actually, let me pause this for 1 second. So, there are currently protests in Dallas, Texas, in Austin, Texas, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, L.A., and New York. We're going to talk about what we've seen in some of them. This is a nice video that goes through and shows some of the protesting in each of those cities. We're going to talk about what we know of them. The worst was Austin, where armed, uniformed men, police, National Guard, I don't know what they were. To the best of my knowledge, the National Guard has not been deployed there, so I would assume sheriff or police. Were grabbing a woman and sort of piling on. In fact, there's a brief clip of that in this video. There's been clashes in all of them, though most of them haven't been bad. New York has been the best. There was a sit-in in New York that resulted in a number of arrests, but no resisting arrest, and no violence in New York that I'm aware of. Anyways, let's watch a little bit more of this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to slow this down because I think it's going so fast that it's going to be hard to, so let me, it's been a while since I've actually tried to, like, slow one of these things down. You know what, I don't think I have what I need up for it, so we will run it at normal speed. So here we go. So this is New York. This is all today, by the way. Okay, there they are. That's the gang up right there. And San Diego, San Fran, if I hadn't said that one earlier. Okay, this is the mayor of Los Angeles, and she brings up an excellent point here. I am going to get the audio back because I think this is important here. So let's play. She's going to bring up the 300 men that have actually been of use.
Do you know what the National Guard is doing now? They are guarding 2 buildings, so they need Marines on top of it? I don't understand that. That's why I feel like we are part of an experiment that we did not ask to be a part of. If we have, I believe, Austin here, let's play this. This is from Austin. This is a short clip. All right, and then actually it may be that the audio would have worked for that one. This is obviously Los Angeles.
Over here that you see here, Laura, and some of the demonstrators at that point tried to leave, and the LAPD said no. That time has come, and that time has gone. Not only are they not allowing the demonstrators to leave. They're not allowing press to leave either, Laura. We are all boxed in this area together. They are telling everyone here that they are going to be detained for failure to disperse. So this is the end to what has been a very long day, a very long night of back and forth with some of these officers.
Let's just see. I don't know if it may not be worth playing just for the yelling and screaming. Yeah. All right. We already saw it. I'm not going to play it again. It's, well, yeah, I feel like I should because, okay, I'll play it because there is a difference between having it with sound and not. So let's play it again. All right, so like I said, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Dallas, New York, and Atlanta all are seeing protests, demonstrations, and we are seeing pushback and violence in a number of them, but not all yet. We expect that this is going to grow significantly. Tomorrow, we're also, the next question is, what is Trump going to do now? Isandring, you've seen the footage. What are your thoughts?
I think that it's a bit of a mess.
It is absolutely a mess. Do you think, Trump is seeing this. He wants to be the law and order guy. He hated, you remember Portland. How do you think he may react to this?
I think that his reaction has already taken place. I don't know that he's going to be able to do much more. Unless a whole lot more stuff starts happening. He's already flooded the area with pretty much what he can send down there. And I don't know what else they're going to do unless, this continues to go on and more people. And I have a feeling that he'll just start digging up people. He'll probably try and find more Marines to send in. He's not going to back down from any of this because he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. So I'm hoping that, things kind of die down and, he's going to be left with a whole bunch of people just standing there twiddling their thumbs going, there's nothing for us to do. So, but we'll see. It all depends upon how much activity is continuing to go on. I think that if a lot of people are still gathering in places, which generally speaking, you have the right to do, I think they're going to start, a hammer in search of nails. So he's going to start trying to send these people out to find when I say these people, he's going to start trying to send the National Guard and the Marines out to find groups of people who are still protesting to try and disperse them, and so he can be seen as I'm cracking down on all of these violent riots that are just tearing the city apart.
I'm going to cut you off. We are going to go to a oh no, okay, we've got several different live from the okay, that's a protest. Thank you, Titan. We will get to that. Governor Newsom is having a press conference. There is a unconfirmed report that Gavin Newsom has claimed that his arrest has been ordered by Donald Trump. We have not confirmed that. But he is speaking now. I need at least another minute or two to see if I can find the confirmation. We have not confirmed it. We have. We know he's filed. Yeah, I can't confirm it. He is speaking, so we are going to go to that. He has filed several emergency injunctions. We know that one of the injunctions is going to be heard on Thursday. That injunction, he's filed the following three injunctions. One, to stop the deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles. 2, to stop the deployment of the Marines in Los Angeles. 3, to return the National Guard to state control. If he gets state control, then he can just do whatever he wants with them. So either of that or the first one's a victory for him. The only one that they're going to listen to is putting a stay on the deployment of the Marines and the National Guard. That's going to be heard on Thursday. So, what I'd like to do is we have from 4 minutes ago a statement by Gavin Newsom. I honestly do not know what it says. I'm hearing a number of claims, and I can't confirm those claims until I get a little more time. What I can do is watch with you and all of us put this up together. It is correct. It is confirmed. The President of the United States has now called for the arrest of a sitting governor. We believe at this point that Donald Trump has called for the arrest of Newsom. We don't know if he has said that casually or if he said that... Hold on. He may have just said he should be arrested. So let's get some clarification on what he said. We're going to play. This was a clip given to us by Newsom, and then we're going to play Newsom's actual. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for? His statement, and we'll figure out what on earth is going on. Yeah. All right, so let me bring up, well, no, that doesn't want to, how about this? There we go. So this should be, yeah. Oh, we don't have it yet. Okay, that's the wrong thing. I'm going to give this one more shot here, and if this doesn't work, I'm just going to do it by hand. I do apologize. We were simply not expecting to have to cope with... All right, you know what? I will bet you...
This is Trump's America. We should always be prepared to have to suddenly go live to breaking news to something absolutely insane in the middle of doing a regular show.
Yes, we should, and we've actually done it in the past. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while since we've had crisis on time. In fact, it's really been since Black Lives Matter. All right, let's... this is going to take one more minute, but... So we know, just to be crystal clear, we know that he has Trump has called for the arrest of Gavin Newsom. Whether he has ordered it or not, we do not know. The language is ambiguous. We are going to try to figure that out right now. That's one reason. There's more than a couple of things going on, so we are going to try to figure out whether, when Gavin Newsom said, oh my God, he's called for the arrest of a sitting, does he mean that he's like, I think he should be arrested, or he said, go arrest him? Those are two very different things. This is Trump boarding a plane. This is MSNBC. And what I'm actually going to do is clear that so that we don't have to worry about it. And let's hear what Trump said. This may be a little loud. The plane is loud.
If you come and arrest him, should he do it? I would do it if I was Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ICE is trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it?
Okay. So that really sheds absolutely no light. Let's see once again. So that Gavin Newsom again just had a press conference or press release that he put out on Twitter, and for whatever reason it is not there anymore. Instead he's got this. So let me see if I can get a hold of his release. If not, I can do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to steal it. No, you didn't hear me say that. I am totally not going to just download it.
Here's the issue that I have. In those remarks right there, I mean, Trump being Trump, we expect him to put those little kind of irrelevant barbs in, like, oh, just look at his little railroad that he's building. It's like that has absolutely nothing to do with anything today. But he just brings it up as an insult. The problem that we run into is for Trump supporters, when they listen to that, they're like, yes, absolutely. There's agitators, paid agitators, and they're trying to cause problems. They should be rounded up and they should be arrested. And so they're cheering, saying, yes, President Trump is right. He's the president of law and order. They should be arrested. And while I agree, paid agitators to cause damage and chaos should be arrested and charged. Of course, they still need due process, and you still need to be able to prove that in a court of law. So you're going to still get, Trump supporters are going to be like, no, he's doing a great idea, or a great idea. He's doing a great job, and that, he's doing what should be done. And then you have other people who's like, no, this is a bit dangerous because look at what he's, talking about doing, sending in all of these federal forces, just on a claim. One that I don't believe the White House has really substantiated. There's been no real proof put forward by the administration that there's paid agitators. There probably are. I mean, anybody who thinks about that for any length of time, yeah, maybe there are. Are they significant? Probably not. I mean, but come on, give us the evidence for this. But no, you're just making a claim and then rushing in with all of these federalizing troops and sending the military in. So, I mean, you're literally setting up two sides, people who very much dislike Trump and people who very much support Trump. And they're both looking at these things that he's saying and going, oh no, look, this is the exact problem we're talking about. And everybody else is like, this is what I voted for. I really hate when he starts getting into these kind of ambiguous things where the words themselves aren't necessarily bad, but what he's doing to enforce those words are pretty terrible. It keeps setting us up more and more division, and he is so callous with his words, or so thoughtless. It's a little infuriating. That particular clip, I do believe that he was speaking of the paid agitators ought to be rounded up and arrested, not Gavin Newsom himself, unless he's suggesting that Gavin Newsom is paying them to do this. You better start bringing some evidence if you're going to start making claims like that.
Yep. So, thank you. What we're going to do is, it appears as if he's changed what his pinned tweet was. We've confirmed it's his account. It's the Gavin Newsom account. We are going to put up, he still says on that account, we're going to do this one step at a time so that we can be as clear as possible. So, I had a cached version of he changed it to that, presumably so that people could see that he's being threatened. That was not his original statement. We do have his original statement, and we're gonna what I want to do is get that up for you so that you can see what he said. I think he's being hyperbolic, but I don't know. It's impossible to. So this is the statement by Gavin Newsom. This was put up literally minutes ago. The President of the United States just called for the arrest of a sitting governor. This is a day I had hoped would never see in America. I don't care if you are a Democrat or a Republican. This is a line we cannot cross as a nation. This is an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism. Now, if he is talking about that clip that he put up, we showed that Trump clip off of Gavin Newsom's own Twitter feed. So it is now actually clipped to this. So it seems like that's what he's talking about. We don't need escalation on either side. We've been talking about. We've been asking the military. We've been asking the MAGA, the far right, to de-escalate. Escalating is the worst thing you could do if you're on the left right now. Anyways, that is what was on Newsom's site. He then pinned that. That is still up there on his Twitter account. And then he posted a message. He posted this message here.
California is no stranger to immigration enforcement, but instead of focusing on undocumented immigrants with serious criminal records and people with final deportation orders, a strategy both parties have long supported, this administration is pushing mass deportations, indiscriminately targeting hardworking immigrant families, regardless of their roots or risk. What's happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar scene played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested, a 4-year-old girl taken, families separated, friends quite literally disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose.
All right, that is the statement by Gavin Newsom under the heading that we had just showed you. This one, that the President of the United States just called for the arrest of a sitting governor. We thought he would address that if he's going to pin that and then attach a video file. We kind of hope that he'd address what he's talking about. He amended the file to be the Trump in as he was boarding a plane, who basically suggested that he should be arrested, but Trump suggests a lot of really stupid things. So this tweet by Gavin Newsom, I think, is rather counterproductive and not. I think it may be strictly speaking accurate, but very strictly, and I don't know your thoughts.
It's what I would consider from kind of a politician that's trying to stand in opposition of things that are going on. It's got truth laced with propaganda mixed into it. He's putting his interpretation on things and making it saying, okay, well, these things happened. Okay, yeah, that's undeniable. Those things happen, and then putting a bunch of flair in it. Obviously, he's trying to rouse up support and. But he's even making a few claims in there that he had better start backing up. So, yeah, it's I don't see it as it's certainly not de-escalatory, but I'm not entirely sure that Gavin Newsom would want to de-escalate an issue against the federal government in this way, especially if he firmly believes that the federal government is invading his state and taking away state autonomy and overreaching their constitutional authority and powers. Then he should probably, if he truly believes that's what's going on, then he should be escalating that issue. Because you need to stand up and tell the government no. If you just back down and say, well, we don't want to cause a big hoopla about this, or we don't want all these other things going on, well, that's how power starts creeping, because, well, hey, we got away mostly with this, there wasn't a whole lot of backlash, etc., so we can start doing it again. He did mention unmarked vans. I don't know what it is with the Trump administration and driving up in unmarked vans, jumping out and grabbing people off the streets, but that is absolutely disturbing. I was pissed off when he did it in his first term. I'm pissed off that he's doing it now. It's like, if ICE is going to be conducting raids and picking people up, they ought to be doing it in official uniforms with official ID, and there shouldn't be this subterfuge. I've never been a fan of doing things like that, because you have no idea who's coming to pick you up. It causes way more problems than I think it solves, and it also violates some of the foundational tenets of our legal system of innocent until proven guilty, and the idea that better that 10 guilty men go free than one man be imprisoned. Innocent man be imprisoned. It's like it's a complete undermining of all of that. We need a little bit more clarity and transparency, and they should not be jumping out in plain clothes out of unmarked vehicles to kidnap people off the street. I guess maybe I've only heard of them doing this. I may have missed some, but I've only heard of them doing this in now Oregon and now California. It doesn't quite escape my notice that he's doing this in places where there's very strong gun laws and people are unlikely to be armed. Because if you did that in the middle of Oklahoma, I have a feeling you'd have federal agents shot. Yeah. Because how are the general public supposed to know that these literally aren't, gang members or traffickers or drug lords? That sounds really inflammatory. Bad actors trying to abduct people. It's like you have no idea. I'm not a fan of these kinds of tactics. I don't think the federal government should be allowed to engage in them. And I'm kind of getting the feeling that Gavin Newsom is trying to set this up as a fight between states' rights and the federal government. And I think that he has a case to make there. So I would expect him to be as inflammatory in his description of events as possible to start setting up that case, start swaying opinion that, hey, this is a really bad thing. We should not be allowing this, and we should be standing up, and not just sitting by, oh, well, we don't want to escalate the situation because, tensions are high already. It's like, no, this is the exact time that you escalate this and stand there and say, no, we aren't allowing this. And that is what it seems. I hate that I'm agreeing with some of the things that Gavin Newsom's doing, because I don't generally like him as a politician at all. But I do believe that the federal government has way overreached its bounds on its own authority and power, and it needs to be checked. And there's a reason that I kept saying get involved in your local politics even now, because you're going to need your state. The federal government does actually go tyrannical. You're going to want your state on your side. You're going to want your state to stand up and say no to this, because if your state gets complicit and allows the federal government to walk all over it, there's not a lot left for you to do.
Well, I laughed for a minute because I remembered, it's just like, Trump's been around long enough now that's like, I was just like, look, he's just saying, arrest the head of another state. Why is that a big deal? I don't understand what you're... I think back to that clip that we play of Ronald Reagan talking about those who opposed his, what was it? I forget what it was that he was trying, but it was highly contentious, and he called his opposition, the Democrats, the well-intended opposition. Wrong, but well-intended. And I'm sitting there going like, there were those days. There's the, oh yeah, he should be arrested and thrown in jail, and I'm so used to it. I'm like, yeah, we call that Tuesday around here.
It's Trump. He says shit. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that excuse so many times. Trump, he says a lot of shit. It's like you got to kind of ignore what he says, except that what he says is important because he's the freaking leader of the United States. So you should be paying attention to what he says. Because a lot of times people, when they start running off like that, will inadvertently, or maybe not so inadvertently, leak out exactly what they're thinking about doing. So you shouldn't just ignore what they said, but so many people are just like, look at what he actually does, not what he says, because he says a whole bunch of shit, and he's just talking right off the cuff. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm not entirely sure that, a president that's thinking right off the cuff to do all of these things, that's his first inclination. That's his hot take. I mean, we can have bad hot takes, because we haven't really thought it through. We're kind of moving off emotion, but you really should have the discipline to not say it right off until you've had time to think about it. You are the president. People are going to care what you say. People are going to take direction off of the things that you say. So I just, on the one hand, I'm like, oh, here we go with hands again. I'm like, well, you go, Gavin. I mean, if you have the evidence to back up your claims and the stuff that's going on, yeah, you should absolutely take this fight. You shouldn't back down. You should stand up and say, this is, the state of California. You don't have the rights here. This is a state's issue. Get the hell off, and be adamant about that. And then on the other hand, I'm like, is he really doing all this stuff, or are you just playing for political points here along essentially your base? Are you gaming for a presidential run here? Why are you mixing in this kind of rhetoric with unarguably true things? I'm not saying he's up there just lying, but he is absolutely putting his own spin on the events of what's going on, and not trying to be. He's going out of his way to give his opinion instead of going out of his way to be impartial and try and give just, hey, these are the facts. Just the facts, man.
It's definitely misleading. By the way, we had a slight production error. I don't know what happened, but for a minute there, we had a picture of the previous 4 presidents all eating tacos. I'll look into it. I think, I don't know. Also, I saw...
Damn you, Dave.
Dave! Come on. We also did have a question in the live chat. How much does it, if you're a paid antagonizer, how much does that pay? And what I found out is they're mythical. It's like unicorns. You don't get paid in real money. It's very much like, say, being a head mod or something like that. It's all like, we really appreciate you doing all this antagonizing work. We appreciate you, throwing fire bombs at cops and stuff like that. But we really don't have a health insurance plan, or it's just, sorry. That's what I heard.
You keep. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what you heard, because you don't want to lose a head mod.
Well, I don't want to pay a head mod.
I know who's hiring.
Yeah,
they don't pay much though.
Oh, yeah,
they do not pay much, and they will disassociate if you do something illegal. They will disassociate from you. They do They want you down there. I think I misspoke. I got a little overzealous. I have no evidence that people are paying people to go down and do illegal things and incite violence. I do know that people are paying people in Washington. There are groups that are supporting the anti-ICE things. They're paying people to go down and to be in the streets and to make their voices heard. They don't pay very much, but they will cover your travel expenses, a very, very modest stipend for maybe some food and stuff. You're kind of expected to pay for most of your own stuff while you're down there, but they're trying to get people to have a good turnout. But they specifically say, do not do anything illegal. This is supposed to be a positive, let our voices be heard. So I have no evidence that people are paying people to go down and incite violence, but I do know that there are some nonprofit groups out there that are helping the expenses of people who want to go down and protest peacefully.
Yeah. So what I think we're going to do, we do know that a short while ago, a car went into protesters in New York. We do have that at this point. We've shown a lot of footage, and I think everybody gets the idea. So if you want to look into it, you can go look that up on your own. But what I'd really like to do is, at this point, we did get our first one. Our first super chat was Sinister Porpoise, $2. Did fact check Isandring. Thank you. Anytime that you want to spank Isandring, just you go ahead and do that, and I'll reimburse you for it. I'm feisty today. I don't know why, but I've noticed I'm unusually feisty today.
It's the mood of California versus U.S.
Oh, which reminds me, I did want to.
It's a feisty confrontation right now.
Yes, it is. Titan sent me this, and I thought this was worth having. In case my friends outside California think LA has erupted into riots, this is a map of greater Los Angeles, and the red circle is where the protest is. If I had to guess, I would say that circle is less than 1% of the map. Yeah, that's less than 1%.
Even the map that they're showing there, that's not even half of it. It's like it goes that far to the right as well. Also, it goes almost that far south as well. So, I mean, that's not even all of the greater LA area. The place is huge. The wife got a little worried because I was like, yeah, I'm down in LA. And of course, when you say, yeah, I'm down in LA, I mean, there are so many little different towns in there that they just kind of get lumped in. It's like, you know, you have Hollywood, you have Burbank, you have Lancaster, you have, there's so many. Now that I'm like, there's so many to choose from, I can't even think of one. But yeah, the place is huge. And so it's like, I'm down here delivering in LA because everybody knows where LA is. You know, if you say, yeah, I'm going to be down here in Sylmar, and they're like, where's that? And you're like, oh, it's just north of LA. And so yeah, it's she gets all freaked out and, oh my God, no, don't be down there. Or she would if I bothered to tell her. I wouldn't tell her. She's probably watching this, so now she knows.
I was gonna say, does she watch? Doesn't she watch the show? If I recall.
But it's like, it's so big. I was so far away. It's like I couldn't even see the smoke. I was very disappointed.
Shame. I know you're sad you haven't seen a tornado up close either.
I have not gotten to see it. Well, I don't really want to see it like, you know, up close, but I would like to physically see one. I mean, I've physically seen just about every kind of natural, you know, nasty blizzards. Check. Hurricanes. Watched 2 hurricanes come in off the shore. Of course, leaving well before they made landfall, so that I didn't get caught up in them. But I have not yet seen. I have been very close to a couple of tornadoes. Didn't see them. One I slept through. The other one was next to me, but because the trees right up next to the highway, I couldn't see the tornado off to the left, and thankfully it couldn't see me, so it didn't come after me. But I'm kind of weird like that, I guess.
My condolences.
I've been close enough to protests from both the Black Lives Matter group, driving through some areas in, again, California. This one's Oakland. So I've kind of driven through the outskirts of several of them, but I've never been right in the middle of one. Well, somebody did ask me earlier today when I mentioned that I was down in that area over the weekend. You know, they were very keen to know, well, what would you do if people started, you know, rushing your truck? And like, well, if I had a large group of people rushing my truck, I'm leaving. I will, you know, if they're going to start jumping up and start beating on my truck, I'm going to put it in gear and I'm going to drive and hope I don't run anybody over. I don't know why they had a burning need to know, well, what would you do? Yeah. I guess maybe just think about that because you're in these areas. And it's like, I've never had anybody try and rush my truck. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I think they were, because they were comparing it to the LA riots for Rodney King.
Yeah, and they pulled Dennis, the guy out. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. They pulled Dennis. I cannot for life of me remember his last name. Pulled him out of his truck. There was another one during the Black Lives movement in Minneapolis. They had shut down the I-35 bridge. They were protesting on it, and a tanker drove through. The lines came screeching through at a fairly high rate of speed, ran over some guy's bike, and then came to a complete stop, and they swarmed his truck and pulled him out and beat him up too. So I think maybe that's why people were asking. It's like, well, first of all, I wouldn't have gone through all of the barriers saying, hey, this bridge is closed. I would have stopped. But
yeah. But best to avoid them. I concur.
It is. It's the whole thing with, like, you know, the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. It's like, I don't understand why he's being lauded as some hero. He wasn't. It's like, I personally don't believe he ever should have been there. Doesn't negate his right to self-defense. However, you know, I thought it was a really dumb idea for him to have gone.
Yeah, he was.
Stay away. I mean, if you're not going to be, if there's a bunch of violence going on in the area, stay away. That's my best advice to anybody. If it's a peaceful protest and you're trying to show solidarity with something you support, a cause that you support, then absolutely go show your solidarity. Be there with everybody. Stand up, let your voice heard. That's one of the beautiful things about America. We can do that. We're allowed to redress our government or petition our government for redresses of grievances. Very important thing. I think people are forgetting a little bit about that. So it's going to be interesting. From what I can understand, other than ICE still bebopping around in their mom vans, grabbing people off the street, and now apparently trying to kidnap kids out of school. I really shouldn't say kidnap. Trying to remove children from school. That's very concerning too. So I guess we'll see if the rambunctiousness of the protests dies down, or if there's going to continue to be escalations. Reginald Denny, that's it.
Oh, that's it. Yep. All right. And then Michael Westby, $5. Thank you, Michael. Good to see you. It's been a very long time. Love having you around. Huge ICE presence tonight in Fresno at the Save Mart Center, likely profiling the families of this year's graduates. Yeah. That's not clever, but not entirely stupid either.
Yes, Carpazian did remind me. Not tonight, it's tomorrow night, I think. Is it tomorrow night? No, it is tonight. No. What is the date today? I've forgotten what day it is. That's all this stuff going on. Tomorrow night, yes, I was correct. Tomorrow night. The Strawberry Moon is going to be tomorrow night. And when I first heard about this, I swore to God it was some AI crap that somebody decided to throw up. It is, in fact, true. It is the last full moon of spring. It is named so because it was the berry harvest. It was the full moon during the berry harvest. So it's not that the moon is going to be strawberry red. However, it is one of the closest approaches the moon makes. So it is astronomically significant. So go out tomorrow night with your cameras, take a picture of the moon, get a little closer, because it's as close as it's going to get.
Yeah, it's afraid of being racially profiled. Oh, it's not going to get any closer than that. Sorry. I don't know why I had to throw. I am feisty tonight. I'm feisty.
I mean, perhaps if you went to Mount McKinley or Everest, or pick your mountain that you want to climb, go up to the top of Rainier, you can get closer that way. I highly recommend a lot of training before you try that, and the proper equipment to do so. And I don't recommend doing it just so you can be a little closer to the moon.
Sound advice. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us once again. Thank you to everybody for it was an interesting show. I do think Gavin Newsom did use a little hyperbole there, and knew people would respond differently than to what he said. But having said that, he's a politician. We got it cleared up. That's what we do. I think we've covered everything. We started off, for those of you just joining us, talking about the collapse of the Israeli government, which we do believe is probably going to happen sometime next week. By next week, could happen sooner. Possible it won't happen. We don't know, but we know it's as precarious. Netanyahu is in as precarious a position as he's ever been in, and if the government is dissolved, the chances are he goes straight to jail very, very quickly, and there's at least a hope for things significantly improving in Israel.
We throw around that term.
Yep.
Yeah, we throw around that term a little cavalierly, because that's what the rest of the world sees it as. It's a collapse of the government. In the United States, that's pretty dire. Oh my God, the government collapsed. That means there isn't one. Maybe since we should say maybe the dissolution of the current coalition government instead of just governmental collapse.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm hoping all the travelers have been around enough, because we've explained it at least, and they don't call it parliament, but it's a parliamentary system. They've got a prime minister, and anybody with a parliamentary system, the quote collapse of government just means that nobody agrees on anything anymore, and they're going to vote new people into power. That's it. It's not like the rule of law is still intact.
It's not like the federal government collapsing, although I'm sure there's a large portion of the population that would be just fine with that right now.
Yeah. So if Netanyahu's government dissolves, let's say, and the parties, are going to vote for a replacement, and then he comes in, puts in a new cabinet, and they call it a new government. It's still the same government. It's just a new government. It's weird.
New
I don't
leadership
know.
of the government.
Exactly. So we covered that. We covered the ICE, what appears to be ICE attempting to, I'm close to going as far as saying kidnap, to extract 2 children from, it was ICE. They were working in their official capacity, but if anybody was trying to take a child without the consent of the parent and from a school without,
Has ICE actually verified that they did this? Because right now it's ostensibly ICE on official business. Nobody's, to my knowledge, has actually proven that. Right now, we know that people claiming to be ICE showed up in plain clothes with badges that they did not allow to be photographed, trying to remove students from an elementary school.
But they also apparently had the backgrounds, had accurate backgrounds of the students' particular immigration status and how they got into this country. So the likelihood is that it was a government official of some kind, because they came with knowledge of confidential information of the children.
Yes, ostensibly, ICE did this.
Ostensibly, yeah. So we will see. What I think is going to happen, you're going to see a lot of channels tonight, channels that we are friends with. Going to do a lot of streaming, and I know a lot of people are going to want to see that, so I hope you guys enjoy that. If something happens that we think is outside sort of the canon of where we are now, which is at when night settles, the protests become far more, we start to see violence, and it's, things get a little crazy. Unless there's something truly unexpected, we won't go to breaking, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. So we will see you guys tomorrow if it turns out they are going to try to arrest Mr. Newsom, and see you Thursday if...
That is the one I'm interested in. I'm going to keep an eye on that one, because Gavin Newsom has laid some pretty inflammatory accusations at the federal government.
Which I've got to tell you, is a great way to get arrested by Donald Trump. He doesn't. I think I might need to. Is there precedent? I'm sure at some point federal authority has arrested the governors of states. That has to have happened before. I've not really looked into it, but I'm kind of wondering, beyond something like, I don't know, tax evasion or espionage or something like that, just a governor saying, hey, you can't do this. This is an overreach of, it seems to be acting in his official capacities as a governor of a state. I mean, he is the governor of a state. He has the right to challenge the federal government when he believes the federal government is violating his state sovereignty. So it makes me wonder under what basis they would try to arrest him for. On the basis that he's a bad governor. I mean, I completely agree with you. He'd have some form of immunity based on the fact that, as long as he's acting in good faith and doing what's best for the state, he's probably got some form of immunity against indictment. But he doesn't have immunity against arrest. It's and Trump seems to be more than happy to arrest anybody for any reason. So I am curious. The other thing I'm curious about is, can Trump arrest people? I suspect he actually cannot. He can order the arrest of people, but I don't think the president.
He would order his Department of Justice to go and arrest him, and they'd send the federal marshals to arrest him. But
yeah, but I think if it was just the two of them in a room, I don't think the president could say, I hereby declare as the head chief of the executive branch that you are under arrest. I don't think he can do that, which seems a little strange. But since that power is not expressly given to the president, I don't think he can do it. I think he's a civilian in that sense.
It's a titan. 11 governors have been arrested historically. I'm going to have to go look those up. See under what circumstances. Right. I have a feeling that was from the Civil War. The U.S. government probably did issue arrest warrants for Confederate governors but it would be curious to see. I know I'm kind of curious. I might have to dig down that rabbit hole, because they seem to. Gavin Newsom seems to be setting this up as a fight between states' rights and the federal authorities. So. I'm here for that. I think the states should be standing on their rights and stopping the government overreach on their powers. But we'll see what happens.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much. When we come back, Isandring, I will ask you about the governors, and you can tell me if there were any that were not related to the Civil War. I was almost thinking, what's his name? But I don't think Wallace was ever arrested. But anyways, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the mods. Come join us on the Discord if you want to follow this. We will go to breaking if there is something important. The stories that we are following right now is obviously the protests now across at least 6 cities, but most notably Los Angeles, and the potential collapse of the Netanyahu government. Both the far right, if had any one of the two far right parties left his coalition, he would be out of office, and it looks like they have now both agreed to leave. So we'll see that the bill dissolving the government is going to be read into the record tomorrow, and then they a little bit like we do in Congress, there's going to be a lot of horse trading and arguing back and forth, so we don't know how or when it's going to happen, but we're going to keep an eye on that too. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Isandring, and we look forward to seeing you no later than Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we have Commander McMillan on for downtime, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about then. In the meantime, thank you all for your support. It means a lot. I really do appreciate it, and we will see you Thursday. Good night, all.